You know what's great? A wrestling video game. Is there anything more fun than getting together with a group of pals and then virtually knocking the stuffing out of each other as your favorite wrestlers? If there is, then I haven't found it. Sometimes, though, wrestling superstars can cross over into other forms of media. We've seen it in films, TV, and even adverts, and the world of video games is no exception. Keep an eye out for these grapplers the next time you sit down to play any of these games. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 times wrestlers appeared in non-wrestling video games. Join us!
But first, who is the Diesel to your Shawn Michaels? Who is the Rhea Ripley to your Dominic Mysterio? Who is the Ralphus to your Chris Jericho? Well, maybe not that last one, but if you want the best protection out there is naught better than NordVPN. Cheers to Nord for sponsoring this video. We at Cultaholic truly believe that Nord is the best service of its kind. But don't take my word for it, because Nord was actually named one of Time Magazine's 2022 best inventions. Gonna argue with Time, are ya? So here is how I use Nord. Obviously, I live in the United Kingdom, but with NordVPN, I can set myself to be anywhere in the world virtually and access content from those regions. So this means if I fancied it, I could set myself to be somewhere in the world virtually and sign up for a certain sports entertainment network for a fraction of the price. Or if I happen to live in the United States, I could sign up for that sports entertainment network even though it doesn't properly exist as it did in the United States before. All of the suplexes, pile drivers, and hurricane ranas you could want for a fraction of the price. Oh, and it works for plenty of other on-demand services too. There is even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if Nord isn't for you, you can get your money back, no bother at all. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/cultaholic, link in the description below, to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
Number 10, CM Punk in EA Sports UFC 2. Remember when the Elite's favourite wrestler CM Punk turned his talents to the world of MMA? Hopefully not, otherwise you will remember that he only had 2 professional fights and was beaten in both of them. Thankfully, Punk fans can have a go at bettering this record if they own a copy of 2016's EA Sports UFC 2. The game, which also features future WWE star Ronda Rousey on the cover, lets fans virtually bash each other's brains out at some of the most popular fighters of the era. Cain Velasquez, Josh Barnett, Daniel Cormier. Wait, all of these guys have done things in wrestling. Are we sure UFC isn't fake? Punk was given a rating of 82, one of the lowest in the game. He would also turn up in the next UFC game with a slightly improved rating of 83.5 and will make his video game return in AEW's Fight Forever. Number 9, Brock Lesnar in Madden NFL 06. Like CM Punk, Brock Lesnar also gave UFC a go after leaving wrestling. Safe to say he fared a little better than the straight-edge superstar. This is reflected in his appearances in UFC video games. The Beast is a playable character in 5 different fighting titles and was even on the cover of UFC Undisputed 2010. It's a nice cover, but it's not exactly SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, is it? Lesnar once also tried to follow another dream of his by stepping into the world of American football. In 2004, he very nearly got signed by the Minnesota Vikings, who, unfortunately, are not real Vikings. I just want to see Lesnar wear one of those hats with the horns on it. Is that too much to ask? His would-be football career was hampered by injuries, and he was released from the team's practice squad after just a month. However, he did do enough to work his way into the 2006 edition of Madden, the most popular American football game series in the world. Again, great for him, but can you F5 someone off the top of Hell in a Cell in that game? Didn't think so. Number 8, Ronda Rousey in Mortal Kombat 11. Considering that Ronda Rousey has been in big-budget films like The Expendables 3, Entourage, and the Academy Award-winning Fast and Furious 7, perhaps it shouldn't be a surprise that she has lent her voice talents to a popular video game series. As well as making that cover appearance on UFC 2 and being a playable character in the first and third games in that series as well, it was announced that her rowdiness would be lending her voice to the character of Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat 11, which is the 11th main installment of the series, but about the 2 billionth overall. Fans of the popular fighting franchise will need no introduction to Miss Blade. She, of course, was the only playable female character in the original Mortal Kombat game in 1992, presumably because Stephanie McMahon hadn't come along yet to invent women's combat sports. Blade has appeared in numerous other Mortal Kombat games, as well as in various live-action and animated movies. Rousey became the 9th different person to voice the character in the games, although she was passed over for the 2021 film. On top of that, she's also in Raid Shadow Legends, which is great. Number 7, Rosa Mendes in Need for Speed Most Wanted. Rosa Mendes debuted as a crazed fan of Beth Phoenix, managed Primo and Epico to the tag team titles, danced with Fandango for a bit, and, well, that was pretty much it. And she was with the company for nearly a decade. Wow. I shouldn't judge really, Mendes is far more successful and important than I will ever be, and she's also had plenty of success with her ventures outside of wrestling. As well as appearing in various TV commercials before she joined WWE, Rosa landed the role of Isabel Diaz in the 2005 racing game Need for Speed Most Wanted. The 9th installment of the franchise, Most Wanted lets players compete in street races in the fictional city of Rockport, whilst dodging those pesky police officers trying to kill your vibe. You'll never take me alive, suckers! In all those years, Mendes actually only made one appearance in a WWE game, meaning that she's been in as many racing games as she has wrestling ones. The more you know. Number 6, The New Day in Gears 5. This one shouldn't be a shock to anyone who has followed The New Day over the past decade or so. Xavier Woods hosts a bloody gaming YouTube channel, for crying out loud. How could he have not been on this list? Alongside their many appearances in WWE games over the years, E. Kingston and Woods were added as playable DLC characters in the 2019 third-person shooter Gears 5. Woods announced the trio's debut in the popular series on Twitter, saying that he was delighted to join a franchise he'd been a fan of for so long. He even said he'd read some of the Gears of War books. A book about a video game? Nerd alert! Gears 5 players can also get a skin of former WWE champion and current Hollywood bigwig Batista, meaning that there are technically 4 different WWE wrestlers in this one non-WWE game. And yet there are no Gears of War characters in any of the WWE 2K installments. The nerve. Number 5, various New Japan wrestlers in Yakuza 6: The Song of Life. We are taking a trip to the land of the rising sun for this entry, and a game series that's been running since 2005. Yakuza, also known as Like a Dragon, is an action-adventure franchise based in the seedy world of organized crime. Just in case the title didn't give it away, you know? By the time the 7th game was released, yes, this is actually the 7th game despite being called Yakuza 6, the series had become extremely popular. So the developers thought it was time to reach out and include another area of Japanese pop culture in the story. 6 performers from New Japan Pro Wrestling make appearances as fictional characters of themselves in the game. They are Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, Satoshi Kojima, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, and Toru Yano. Because of course he managed to worm his way into this game. Whilst you can't play as any of the wrestlers, it is still great fun to see such an incredible selection of talent all assembled in one place. Number 4, Ric Flair in Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 Uprising. If there's one thing Ric Flair loves in this world, more than Rolex's hard booze and crying on cue, it is selling his image to make a quick buck. The Nature Boy has shifted everything from comic books to men's health products to an online restaurant, not sure how that works, but there you go, and has appeared in countless TV shows over the years in an effort to keep himself relevant. He's also somehow a hip-hop icon. Who saw that one coming? Despite his constant hustling and keen eye for collaboration, Flair has only made one appearance in a non-wrestling video game. Players of the 2009 real-time strategy title Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 Uprising will find Flair in the game as Commander Douglas Hill. Hill is one of the opponents in the Commander's Challenge portion of the game, which pits players against AIs in a battle of military wit. Flair not only voices the character, but also appears in various cutscenes decked out in full camo. Sadly, we don't get to see him chopping ground-to-air missiles in mid-flight before slapping a figure 4 on a Panzer tank. Number 3, Samoa Joe in Game of Thrones: A Telltale Game Series. Ric Flair and Command & Conquer is a weird enough combination, but Samoa Joe in Game of Thrones? Somebody reset the Matrix, the world's gone glitchy. The Samoan submission machine actually made his non-wrestling video game debut back in 2013, voicing the character of Juggernaut in the online game Dota 2. He returned to the role for the 2020 title Dota Underlords and will be playing the part of King Shark in the upcoming Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game. If that shark doesn't hit a muscle buster on Batman, then I will be asking for my money back. What we are interested in here is Joe's 2014 appearance in Telltale Games' episodic Game of Thrones series. Joe voices a character named the Beast, who is a large mountain who beats up other people for a living. Wonder why they cast him. The Beast appears in the 5th episode of the first season of the game, encountering Asher Forrester in a fight pit. He later joins his team before meeting his untimely end when he gets impaled by a spear. A spear can defeat Samoa Joe? No wonder he's never beaten Roman Reigns. I'll see myself out. Number 2, Hulk Hogan in Saints Row the Third. As you can imagine, Hulk Hogan has been in quite a few wrestling-themed video games. Since his appearance on the cover of 1987's Micro League Wrestling, the first ever WWE game, the Hulkster has turned up in 32 different titles across various platforms. That's not counting his appearances in WCW games and those Legends of Wrestling games your granny would buy you for Christmas by mistake. Even with all of this going on, Hogan found the time to lend his voice to a game with absolutely nothing to do with pro wrestling. In 2011, he joined the insane world of Saints Row, playing a character in the series' third outing. As Angel de la Muerte, Hogan appears as the ex-partner of Eddie Kilbane Pryor, leader of a dangerous gang known as the Luchadors. I guess this game does have something to do with wrestling after all. It's not a massive role or anything, but it's still a thrill to hear Hogan's distinctive tones whilst playing the game. Oh, and here's another fun fact for you: the Hulkster isn't the only wrestler to make their appearance in this series either, with Rob Van Dam, Christopher Daniels, and even Rowdy Roddy Piper getting in on all that 3rd Street Saints goodness. Number 1, Randy Savage in Cars Racer-Rama. Whilst his old Mega Powers partner Hulk Hogan got to play a rough-and-tumble gangster, Macho Man Randy Savage appeared in a video game voicing a talking car. Go figure. With a voice like his, Savage found it pretty easy to land several voice acting roles outside of the squared circle. His famous drawl can be heard in shows like Dexter's Lab, Duck Dodgers, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and King of the Hill. He can also be found in the 2009 video game Cars Racer-Rama, based on the criminally underrated Pixar movie Cars. I will defend Lightning McQueen until my dying breath. Savage voices one of the cars by the name of El Machismo. Sadly, he's not able to launch a flying tire drop on anybody as he's beaten by the player character early on in the story mode. The Macho Man was never one to do things by the book, so it's actually quite fitting that his sole non-wrestling video game appearance should be in this totally random kids game. The only thing that would have made this better was a button on the controller that made his character go, "Ooh yeah!" in place of a horn sound.